More of Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy comes your way now. And make sure to join me, Larry Elder, tonight at 7, only on AM 560, The Answer.
Oh, yeah, the sage of L.A., Larry Elder. My mom actually has a crush on him. Now, isn't that embarrassing?
Not at all.
It's lovely. President Trump yesterday held a 90-minute gab fest with the media, invited in his cabinet members. It looked like, you know what it reminded me? A scene out of House of Cards, but it was a little, it went off the rails when he talked about the Soviet Union. And when he talked about DACA, he made a little sense.
No, if President Obama is allowed to do what he did on DACA, then I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do on things that, probably a president, as he said, probably a president doesn't have the right to do.
It's reparations.
Yes.
Trump is a make-good for Obama and for Clinton and maybe even for FDR. So, it's reparations.
With more on that. And then today, the House of Representatives falling into Democratic hands. Let's get the latest with Larry Elder, our brother in sound, who you can listen to the Larry Elder Show right here on AM 560, The Answer, weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Good morning, Larry, and welcome back to the program.
Morning, Amy and Bruce. How are you?
We're good. Great. So what did you think yesterday of, there's a lot of the news that happened yesterday, but Let's start with President Trump's sporadic, unannounced 90-minute press conference.
Yeah, there's always a lot of news with this president. It never ends. Look, in his defense, Amy and Bruce, what I think he meant when he said Obama did this thing with DACA is that when Obama was running, and early on in Obama's term, when the left put all this pressure on him to legalize all these people and change all these immigration laws, he kept saying, "I used to teach constitutional law at the University of Chicago. I can tell you I do not have the legal authority to do this, that, and the other," and then promptly did it. And so what Trump is saying is, when he makes arguments that I can use the money out of the defense budget and people say you can't, he's saying, why can't I do what Obama did? What Obama did was clearly illegal by his own admission. What I'm doing is shifting money around, and I'm getting all this flack. I don't get it. That's what his frustration is, I believe.
Yeah, Larry, you're a successful talk show host, and I'd like to be someday, although I'm getting really old. Here's the problem. Here's the thing.
I feel the same way.
You're doing a good job. It's a lot of it's a matter of emphasis. So, and I get defensive. I voted for Trump. I'm sure I'm going to wind up voting for him again. But there are times when he says things, that like the Soviet Afghanistan thing, he actually got wrong about the Soviet Union. And I know as a talk show host, you don't really want to talk about it because at that moment, you're talking about it and a listener is saying, what are you doing that for? It may as well be MSNBC.
No, I don't feel that way at all. When he says something stupid, when he says something that I think is wrong-headed, when he makes a decision, for example, to pull out of Syria, I got a problem with that. I'm concerned about some of these tariffs. There are other things he said and done that bother me. But I think I said this to you before, Amy. I was watching a Golf Channel show some years ago, and two professional golfers were asked, how can you tell if a golfer is good? Mm-hmm. And the first guy went through a long, beautiful, elaborate description of what makes a good golfer technically, how he puts his feet, where he places his arms, how he puts his hips, this, that, and the other. The other one folded his arms and said, I look to see where the ball lands. Let's look and see where the ball lands. Where it's landing is great. I like what he's doing on the borders. I like what he's doing with the course. I like what he's doing with regulations, with taxes. Let's let that go. The rest of the stuff is just white noise as far as I'm concerned. Right. You can't even remember the last tweet he did 2 or 3 weeks ago that everybody was all upset about.
All right, Larry.
I look to see where the ball lands.
All right, then a follow-up question. Were you like me, and did you waste $19.99 to watch Phil and Tiger play that thing after Tiger owed me money for just wrecking my Ryder Cup and being in the rough the entire time? I mean, agree with me on it, or do you feel afraid that you can't say anything anti-Tiger? Go ahead, Larry.
No, I'm a big Tiger guy, and the fact that he was kind of out of it for 5 years and came back and won a major tournament. He didn't win a major, but he won an important tournament. Is a big golf story and got huge ratings. It also, by the way, I know you were joking, but by the way, it also shows you, in my opinion, the lack of racism in America. Here's a guy who is a person of color, and he cheated on his wife with all these women. Not a single one of them, to my knowledge, was a black woman, and nobody gives a rip. On the on the Sunday, if he's competing, and Bruce, you know this,
yes,
the ratings go through the roof. Yet this is a country that's supposed to be institutionally racist. What did Obama say? Racism is in America's DNA. If racism were in America's DNA, the man could never have been elected, because in the 50s, when you asked white people if they would elect a black person for president, the answer, yes, was in single digits. So if racism were in America's DNA, he never could have become president. And somebody like Tiger Woods could not become the number one athlete in the world as he was for so many years. So I know you were joking, but I wanted to get
and
that
Larry, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. I thought, okay, Obama gets elected. Okay, that's the end. You know, everything's fine in America and everything. Actually, then people doubled down. I mean, you got Ta-Nehisi Coates and all that. Oh no, we're still living in 1957. In case you didn't know, so it's even gotten worse as a result.
The person who doubled down, Bruce, the person who doubled down was Obama. Obama hires Eric Holder. Eric Holder says, when it comes to matters of race, America has been a nation of cowards. And then the Cambridge police acted stupidly. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. He invokes, Obama does, Ferguson when he's speaking to the United Nations. He embraces the Black Lives Matter movement. Yes, he made things worse. I think more people voted for him because he was black than voted against him because he was black. Rather than to celebrate that as a victory, he says racism is in America's DNA. I was very, very offended by that. He had a great opportunity to bring this country together and blew it.
You know, Larry, but I got to tell you something. Whatever that day was in November in 2016, I mean, it'll day that will go down in infamy for the Democrats and the liberals. I was so ecstatic, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. You know, in Chicago, we had won the World Series for the Cubs only the week before, and then to follow that up with Trump flipping, 9 million Obama voters. 9 million Obama voters.
And how did he do that?
Oh, that was so beautiful.
There were 700 counties in America that voted for Obama in 2008 and in 2012. 200 of them switched to Trump. When were those people in those counties bitten by the racist radioactive spider?
Good point. All right, so yesterday we had that.
Quickly,
go on.
I'm sorry, real quick on the shutout, the shutdown. We've had 18 shutdowns before. Somehow, some way, we've survived. And when they say that Trump won't compromise, if the wall costs $25 billion, he's asking for $5 billion. That's already a compromise. And when for a moment he took the wall off the table and got hammered by his base, Vanity Fair wrote not that he was reaching across the aisle, not that he'd made a statesman-like gesture and decided to turn his back on a campaign promise. They called it a capitulation, which reminds me of when George Herbert Walker Bush broke his pledge of no new taxes. What happened? It was used against him. James Carville, Bill Clinton's campaign manager, called it the most famous broken promise in the history of American politics, and I'm going to hit him, I'm going to hit him, I'm going to hit him.
Wait a minute,
so
Larry,
it's not like the left...
Larry, that's cultural appropriation. You are not allowed to do a James Carville imitation, and you stay off my turf right now. And, I'll be the one to talk about dragging a dollar bill through a trailer park, not you.
No, tell him what you gonna get if you drag $100 through a trailer park. No, tell him what you gonna get.
Who am I allowed to imitate, Larry? Stay on your side.
So, Larry,
notice how the media is referring to it as his wall or Trump's wall, not the wall, not the Southern Wall. And when when the Republicans were calling Obama's health care plan Obamacare initially, that was called racist. So is it racist to call it Trump's wall or his wall? And I'm even hearing the wall itself being called. I'm hearing the wall itself being called racist. So imagine what would happen if we put the military on the border the way Guatemala has. What would they call that? I mean, you can't win. And when did border protection become a partisan issue? I thought everybody wanted illegal aliens out of this country, especially those who are bad hombres, as Donald Trump mentioned it. Why should this be a partisan issue? I don't get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of political posturing going on. So we're in day 13 of this government shutdown, but everyone's standing their ground. I don't think that this is going to end anytime soon, do you?
No, you know what? It's going to be Pelosi.
I don't see how it can.
Well, Larry.
You also have this wild card of Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi will not get elected if she is perceived as caving into Trump.
But once she gets elected, can't she turn it? Can't she turn on her people once she gets elected? That's what you do, right? Mitt Romney turns on Trump just now after he gets Trump's support. Nancy Pelosi gets the support of the leftists. And then she makes a deal, and she says it's not really a deal. Isn't that what's going to happen? No?
I hope so. I expect there's going to be some sort of deal, but she's in a tough position. If she wants to get elected as Speaker, she can't be perceived as caving in, and so she's dug in. And when you call the wall racist, how do you compromise on a racist wall? What do? Half a racist wall? Quasi-racist wall? Where do you go from there?
That's crazy. All right, so speaking of Mitt Romney, what did you make of his interview with Jake Tapper and his op-ed in the Washington Post?
Who?
Ah.
Okay. What difference does it make? This guy
Well, thank you,
was
Hillary.
groveling to become Secretary of State. He got Trump's endorsement. He ran for Senate. He was very happy about that. Excuse me, and thanked him profusely for supporting him. And then he does this before he even sets foot in office. By the way, I didn't even realize that the chairwoman of the RNC was his niece.
Yeah,
And
she took out Romney. That she had a hyphenated name,
no
and
idea.
she dropped that.
So the Romneys are playing good cop, bad cop. It's great.
And according to Rolling Stone, Amy, Trump insisted that she not use the name Romney when he asked her to be the chair of the RNC, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, oh, that is
gosh.
crazy.
All right, so
look, I can't get over this James Carville imitation that you did.
Why don't you guys go on? Here, go on.
Yeah.
Go. No, give us more. We want more.
No,
All right, so another pressing issue of the day is Captain and Tennille.
yes.
What was your
favorite
song?
Captain and Tennille song?
The Muskrat song, whatever that one's called. What's it called?
It's called Muskrat Love.
Yeah, right.
Muskrat Love, yeah.
I brought in a captain's hat for Bruce to wear today.
I don't think there's been an animal song like that beloved since Michael Jackson did the song about Ben, which was a song about a rat.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. His pet rat, Ben. How did it go?
Larry knows his rodents very well. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, Larry Elder, always a pleasure having you on the program. And you can listen to Larry Elder on these very airwaves, 560 The Answer, weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Elder.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Larry.
it.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.